Donna, welcome to Cannes.
Thank you
ready
very
to receive
much.
the standing ovation?
I have.
You ready in the lights?
Thank you.
I have a lot of questions for you.
Oh my goodness.
I want to start with the business.
Yes.
Where we're at right now in the film business. And I want to start by asking you, what do you see as consistencies in the theatrical film market right now? What are the strengths? What are the weak spots? And what are you looking at when you're greenlighting a movie?
Well, what we're experiencing across the whole media landscape really are the trends that were really put in motion before the pandemic, but were accelerated by that. So we're seeing a shift in consumer behavior, which is driving, a lot of rethinking and reshaping of our business, right? So theatrically, the global marketplace is down about 20%. Actually, right now it's down more. I'll get back to that in a second, but we're generally down about 20% from pre-pandemic times, so from 2019 to now. And we don't really think we're going to recapture that. It's okay. I think as an industry, we can withstand it. But the strikes last year impacted us again. And there's just less volume going through the marketplace at the moment. And I think, I know how I am as an audience member. If there's not too many things to go see, you kind of lose the habit. You lose the will to, get yourself up off your couch and go and go to a movie. And so, and there's so many good options, of course, at home with streaming. So we need volume to come back. We need, we need more movies in great movies in the marketplace. So that's one big trend. And the other thing, of course, is what does the audience want to turn out for? As we saw last year with the great Barbenheimer, big all audience, highly cinematic experiences that you can go see on an IMAX screen or a large format screen are definitely what the audience seems to be very excited about. So
I wanted to talk to you about Barbenheimer, or more specifically Oppenheimer.
Yes, that's a better way. So we love Barbie, but we don't love smushing them together.
And they're separate now. They're different now.
Yeah.
On the studio side of Universal last year, you had a tremendously successful year. So you had the Super Mario Brothers movie, Cocaine Bear, Megan, Fast 10, and Oppenheimer, which grossed nearly $1 billion and won 7 Oscars. What was the lesson for Oppenheimer for you?
That there are no rules in the movie business. I remember when we bought the film, it was one of those funny things because it was highly competitive. Everybody wanted it, of course. Who wouldn't want a Christopher Nolan film? And then when we got it, it was immediately deemed a disaster before it had come out because it was going to be, no, there's an industry gossip, if you will, that it would be a drama. Historical drama, and it's how could that possibly? And we paid too much for it. So of course the rest is history. Then we never thought that, and I don't really think that people thought that either. But I think I think what Oppenheimer shows you is if you make it, they will come. If you make it great, they will come. And we had a world-class master filmmaker at the helm of that story. But it does defy odds in some ways. It's a 3-hour historical drama, as we talked about, but it's propulsive and all the things, again, we now know. So it just sort of goes to show you that there are no rules in cinema, which is why we love it.
When did you realize it was going to be the phenomenon that it became?
Well, I knew the movie was great. First of all, I will just say it was one of the best screenplays I've ever read, and I think I've got my colleague here, Peter Kramer, and Xavier from our French office here, so we all got to read the script, and it really was a tremendous story.
Yeah.
Not just historical, but it was epic, and it was also very deeply emotional and very intimate. So it was this big scale, but also a very intimate story, and so we had high hopes for it. But in terms of the box office and where it was going. It was really how the audience was interacting with it when it arrived in theaters. There were showings at as early as 7 a.m. in Los Angeles for sure, maybe even more, and people were coming dressed up in hats and coats, and so really interacting with the film in a very sort of fanship way. And so we knew that we would have a really strong play out by then.
And the dressing up wasn't planned. That was just
no, it wasn't planned. It was it was just something that kind of captured people's imagination. And yeah.
What did it mean for you to be the the person responsible or partly responsible for Christopher Nolan winning an Oscar for Best Director?
Well, I'm going to take no responsibility for Christopher. Christopher Nolan won an Oscar all by himself, and he deserved it. And it was really very much about time. But I will say, as a company, when I think about what I'm most proud of, I'm really proud of the marketing campaign around the film, and also the publicity campaign, and the collaboration with Christopher and Emma, and everybody involved, because again, we were marketing that movie during the strike. I mean, we had our actors have to leave the red carpet at the premiere in London, which was one of the most sad moments. But but when they could, they all came back together and rallied. But yeah, the campaigns were very well executed.
Were you concerned as the strike was called that it was going to prevent people from seeing the movie?
No, I mean, we were concerned in the sense that we weren't going to be able to have as robust of a marketing campaign and publicity campaign. Our actors couldn't get out and talk about the film in the way that they wanted to. So, and it was impacting other films that were coming into the marketplace or came into the marketplace after that. So, but anyway, it didn't hamper anything. So we're good.
And will there be an Oppenheimer 2?
No, let's hope not. My gosh.
There's been a lot of apocalyptic movies in Cannes, so.
Let's hope there's not another one of those.
Dawn, I wanted to talk to you about your promotion to Chief Content Officer of NBCUniversal. When that happened, you arguably became the most powerful and autonomous woman leader in studio history. And so I wanted to ask you, what did that feel like, and what does the weight of that mean for you?
Well, I don't look at it in terms of power dynamics, but the responsibility to have all of content in some ways, report up to me is really exciting. It's a really great opportunity because, companies like ours, big media companies, we have so many great assets across. We have everything from the film studio and then the specialty film studios. We have 2 animation studios. And then on the television side, from late night, Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, SNL. We've got these amazing brands and franchises, if you will. And so the idea that we can really now go in with a concerted strategy to maximize those across the entire portfolio, because we've also got many different distribution opportunities, right? So it's really exciting, and I think the best is yet to come. It's best laid plans, but yeah, it's in motion.
Can you talk a little bit about the synergy between the film side and the TV side, and how the two connect now?
Yeah, I think where we've seen it the best is around some certain properties that we have that, well, actually I'll start here. So one of the things that we do is our films, after they've been in the theatrical marketplace and home entertainment, they then go to streaming, to Peacock. And that is really good for the film economics, but it's also really good for Peacock. So it's really helped fuel their subscribership, and that's all domestic US only, so not so interesting maybe for this audience, but the live stream maybe.
There's some Americans.
There's some Americans. Yeah. So that's one way, but also, there's deals with filmmakers that go across, Jordan Peele, David Leitch, and Kelly McCormick, and Judd Apatow, to name a couple. Ted is actually a recent, success story. So Ted, the film, the foul-mouthed teddy bear.
With Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, with Mark Wahlberg, directed by Seth MacFarlane. He has a deal with a TV studio, and he recently just made a TV show, which is a prequel to the movie, and then he's going to do a second season of that, and so that's a nice synergistic thing. So plenty more opportunities to come, but those are just a couple of ways.
So there's a potential to look at a hit movie even from a few years ago and to bring it back as a different iteration on television.
Yeah. We did it with Pitch Perfect, and there's a couple of other things that we're looking into. Fast and Furious is a good title, a good one.
I've heard of that movie.
Yeah?
Yeah. I bet
you haven't seen any though, have you?
I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I've seen all of them several times, I think. And I wanted to talk to you about your collaboration with that team, because that franchise really changed the movies, and I think it doesn't get enough credit. People always talk about Marvel and comic book movies, but what Fast showed Hollywood really, in terms of continuing a story and a franchise and making sure that a cast is diverse and speaks to the audience is very, very groundbreaking, and wanted to talk to you a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. We love Fast and Furious, and I think that's one of the things that is actually responsible for its success, is that, you know, it could easily be something that we're cynical about, and we're not. We treat the characters with respect and care. We love them. We love we buy into La Familia. You know, we really believe in the family. We believe it exists. We believe that Dom Toretto is a real guy. He is real.
Do you have his number?
Yeah, I do actually, by his speed dial. But yes, when I think it was number 5. Yeah, I think it was number 5 of 10. We did pivot the franchise from being a sort of a genre movie in a way to being a world globe-trotting heist film or franchise. And we added Dwayne Johnson to the cast at that time, amongst a few others. And that was really the thing that pivoted, and it sort of took us out of being, again, this sort of, you know, gearhead car movie to something that was much broader in terms of the audience and much more global.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's Fast 10 Part 2, which is Fast 11.
Yeah.
Do you think it keeps going? When we think it's going to end, it keeps going. Do you think that the franchise will continue after that, or?
Yeah, the franchise is so powerful that it will definitely continue. I think where we go next is a question. There's a couple of different pathways, and we are actually looking to pivot another time and to sort of maybe bring it back to the streets of LA, maybe make it a little bit more intimate of a story. I don't know. I'm going to toss this to my colleague over here, Peter Kramer, who is hard at work developing the stories. But there's also so many characters and ways to expand it. You know, again, we just talked about television. There's a lot of gas left in the tank, petrol left in the tank.
I was overhearing Peter talk about a movie. It's a small movie that you guys have coming out called Wicked.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys have heard about it or not. But what can you tell? Is there anything you can tell us about Wicked? The trailer was released this week. There's so much excitement and enthusiasm for it. And I know you're a huge Broadway fan.
Yeah. I do like Broadway. I think the thing to know about Wicked, and you can see it in the trailer, if you know the show, the movie is the show. Only one of the things that surprised us, I think, is that it's 20 years old, but the themes are as resonant today as they were 20 years ago. And that's really a beautiful thing. You know, the sort of film, the themes of otherness with the Elphaba character, and of course the partnership between the two women is really resonant. And there's a whole storyline with the animals in the show, if you haven't seen it, that they are ostracized and silenced. And so again, like, if you think about today's politics, you know, it really fits nicely. If you don't know the show, and there are some territories around the world where the show did not travel to, the thing to know about the show is, it's a musical. The thing to know about the movie, it's a musical, but it's got magic. It's got flying monkeys. It's the Wizard of Oz. It's Wonka. It's a big world-building, epic adventure with this beautiful friendship at the center of it. And of course, that cast is extraordinary.
And when the trailer comes out and everyone gets very excited, do you go online and do you look at the comments and what people are saying? You're monitoring it in real time?
It's so great. And with this one in particular, there's, people post videos of themselves watching the trailer. It's so much fun. It's so great. Yeah. When it's a reception like that. Oh yeah, we like all of the accolades that we can get. Yeah.
Have you listened to the soundtrack on repeat?
I haven't. I remember when the show came out, and at the time I must have been with a friend, and she screamed from the other room and said, "Will you turn that off? It's terrible." She's not a Broadway musical fan. I am.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, no, I don't. I actually don't listen to it over and over and over again. But there is no. I do have the songs in my head at the moment because we're hard at work in post on the film, and so we're watching it over and over again. So I may or may not have Defying Gravity on a loop in my head.
Okay. You have had such a great relationship with Elizabeth Banks over the years, coming from the Pitch Perfect movies to Cocaine Bear. and helping develop her voice as a director and seeing the huge success that she's had as a director, who would you say is the new Elizabeth Banks, or who are you really excited about when you look at the future generation of storytellers now?
Well, there's one right here in the audience who was going to be directing.
Selma Hayek.
Yes.
Okay.
Selma Hayek. But no, it's an exciting time. We just made a film at Focus with A.V. Rockwell, who called 1001, and the film was really well received, and she received some awards for it. We haven't worked with her yet, but there's Emerald Fennell. There's just so many great next generation filmmakers out there.
Do you find that in this marketplace, there needs to be more guidance and more guardrails for directors, or do you find that the voices that are emerging are just so exciting that how do we make sure that when someone makes an indie auteur film, they can elevate and graduate to a bigger movie in the right?
They get to the second movie. Yeah. It's something that there are a number of initiatives and programs around, and of course, we're here with the Caring Women in Motion, and so programs and initiatives that they have that supports, of course, not just female directors, but women in all disciplines of art. But the Sundance Institute does a great program around getting female directors to their second movie, because there's a huge drop off there. We have initiatives at the company that support. So I think on the good news side of things, just the proliferation of streaming and the volume of things that are made has given more opportunity, but it's never going to be enough. And we have just always got to keep pushing. It's a very, very hard job for women to do when they're, getting into their careers and starting a family and figuring out that balance. It's hard for everybody. I'm not saying it's not necessarily a gender thing, but I was actually just talking to somebody the other day who used to be an AD and is no longer an AD because she couldn't leave her family. So it's just finding ways to support. And of course, having female directors, I was hearing great anecdotes about the set of Greta Gerwig's film with Barbie. And, when you have a women-led film, obviously directed, produced, written all by women, the set becomes this sort of friendly environment for women to work and have be able to find a work-life balance there. And again, that's not to say that there's not that on male sets, but just having an intentional approach, to the environment that you're creating on a set really helps. Those things help. They matter.
I know that you launched the Global Talent Development and Inclusion Department at Universal. How did you find that helped change and evolve and allow for more voices to be at the table?
Well, the thinking behind that at the time was that it was really we need dedicated resources, financial resources, which we got. And then also that department and team needed to report into the studio at the highest level. It was the first of its kind. Prior to that, these initiatives would report into HR, or it would report into the place where
the wrong place.
You're not accessing money,
right,
and you're not accessing decision-making power, right? So, getting those things out of the way, it made a really big difference, actually. And so, here we are today.
And speaking of things changing, obviously we are in Cannes, where Harvey Weinstein used to always come, and you greenlit She Said, which was the story of Harvey's downfall. Can you talk a little bit about the process of that and what appealed to you about telling that story, obviously with a female director, 2 female leads, and discussing this moment and female producer and female sort of crew too?
Well, first of all, on its own merits, it was an incredible script and it was a great package. I loved the director. I'd loved her work in the past, and Plan B, the producers, are excellent. Yeah. But it was really... it was an urgent story, I think, to us when we read it. It just felt like those of us in the industry can probably all think back to where we were when that story broke, when the New York Times story broke, written by
Jodi Kantor.
Jodi Kantor, thank you.
And Megan.
And Megan Toohey. And the idea of it being memorialized in the cinematic form felt very urgent to us. Mm-hmm. And so it was a labor of love, very much so.
And also the decision not to make Harvey the focus of it, right? To make
Yes.
heroes of it, the journalists who brought him down.
Yeah. Well, look, the story is based on the article, and then it's based on the book that they wrote. And so it really is, it's a story about journalism, and about how difficult it is to break a story like that, and what goes into it, and that journalistic integrity. And then, of course, it's a story about the women, about the them coming forward and their bravery, and it's indelible. That film exists forever.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you consume content. So, what do you watch? What do you stream? How many scripts did you say you read a week? How active are you in actively trying to?
Just like looking down. He's not looking up. He doesn't read enough scripts. All right. So in terms of streaming things, I watch as much as I can, but I get so overwhelmed. There's just so much out there. There's so many platforms, and then there's whoever you're having lunch or dinner with, there's asking, have you seen this one? Have you seen that one? I did just watch Baby Reindeer, which is extraordinary. But I like Abbott Elementary and Emily in Paris. Those, like, if I
Very wide range.
if I'm being very honest, and I have a bit of downtime, and my kids aren't around, and there's not sports on every conceivable screen, I am going to watch one of those two shows because they're easy to watch. Or I like old classics like I Love Lucy. I'm a big I Love Lucy fan, and even Harold Lloyd, weirdly. But so that's on the TV side. Films, I watch everything when I can, and most things, I'll go to the movie theater to see, but not always opening weekend because I don't get there, but I'll see everything. But and then books. I've actually started listening to audio books because it's just in Los Angeles we have so much time in the car. You're not on the phone, and so it's just a way for me to actually keep up. It's just too hard otherwise. Because scripts, yes, we're reading scripts all the time, and now I have television scripts as well, so it's a lot of reading.
How did your love of cinema begin? What drew you to the industry? What drew you to thinking I want to work in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think it's just a delusional idea that I could participate in some way. But no, I didn't grow up thinking, I'm going to work in the movie business. I grew up on a small island in the south of England, and we didn't know about the movie business. But I did grow up reading. My family is, it's a family of we're all avid readers. And so I fell in love with storytelling when I was younger. I didn't realize it at the time, but I've been asked this question before, so now I've kind of got the answer. But I just grew up loving story. And then when I moved to Los Angeles and I saw that there's actually people who do this, and there's for a living, and there's a vocational aspect to it that I could actually get a job. That's when I fell in love with it.
And what was it about producing that spoke to you? What is it about producing that you loved?
I think it's it's the aspect of it where you're facilitating somebody's vision, someone's dream, someone's story, idea. It's so exciting when somebody walks through the door with an idea, and you have the resources and the ability to say yes. It's hard to get to a yes. It's much easier to say no. But figuring out how to weave your way to that yes is it's a great feeling, and it's a great feeling to work in a creative medium around really brilliant people.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna take some questions for social media, but I actually had one more question for you before you did that. It's about the business. Obviously, there's been talk about Paramount being sold or dissolving, and I wanted to ask you what that means for the business. If there's one less traditional studio and there's more consolidation in the market, how do you think that'll affect Hollywood?
Well, I think I'll answer it two ways. The consolidation is inevitable. It will happen. Whether I'm not suggesting it's Paramount, but there'll just will be further consolidation. I think it's sad. I think these companies have been great, and I'm a big believer in this sort of competitive landscape. Kind of all boats will rise. There's enough to go around, and I like having healthy competitors. It's much more fun and interesting, and it's just better for the business. but yes, I think this year, I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll kind of know where it's settled, because it's enough already reading about this one, that one. No one really knows anything. So until it's done,
That's true. That's always been the case for Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take my phone out. Sorry. They told me the social media questions are on my phone. So I'm going
Okay.
to read you a few questions that were sent my way. This is from @Crystal Thomas. Do you have any advice for young women who want to pursue a career in the movies?
Sure. My advice for people who want to break into the movie business is really, I just use the word vocational. One of the things we do when we're mentoring is try to break down the mythology of the film business. It is a business. It's an industry. And there are so many different access points. Now, obviously, if you want to break into the field of, directing or acting or writing, it's a little harder because it's hyper competitive. You need to have the skill to do it. But even there are programs and initiatives and ways that you can participate there depending on your experience level and your skill. But everything else is fair game. And I think it's just about, I came up through the industry from an intern to an assistant and came up that way. So I'm a believer in that. It's almost like an apprenticeship. But it's really about figuring out, you're not going to step into it in your ideal perfect job. You might step into it in something that is adjacent to what you want to do, but just get your foot in the door and then work hard.
And follow your passion. I always tell young journalists,
Yeah.
they're not in film, I tell them to follow your passion, because I think if you do what you love, you'll do better.
Exactly. Well, I think you have to be passionate in order to do it, because it's hard.
The next question, we kind of touched on this, but they want to know, what movies made you want to make movies?
Oh, well, I'm here in France, so I'll talk about it. In my early 20s, I spent quite a bit of time going backwards and forwards between London and Paris for fun. And I would go and watch movies there. I saw Le Grand Bleu, the Big Blue, Luc Besson's movie, Diva. I saw it at a, it was an older movie at that point. But I just loved it. I loved the experience of seeing cinema in the cinema capital of the world. But also, I fell in love with films that had something to say. Oliver Stone's here at the festival, and I loved, the films that he was making and writing, Midnight Express and so on. Films that were really about something, and I know how they moved me. And the recognition that this medium is so powerful. Yes, it is there to entertain, but it's also there to inform and educate, inspire, uplift. Yeah.
Is there a secret to giving a good note? Because there's always this discussion where directors get very frustrated. They're like, or some of them do, where they don't like what the studio wanted them to do, but you have such a great relationship with directors. So how do you have the ability to give a note, but also to be a collaborator so they accept a note and improve the movie? Because that's what it is. It's a collaboration. It's obviously a director's vision, but they do need guidance from the studio to make their movies better often.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance. It's like telling somebody that you don't like what they're wearing. It's deeply personal, but I think the approach is, I think, number one, be a good listener. And listen to what people are saying and also what people are not saying, because you'll usually find the truth somewhere in there. But approach with compassion. Somebody who's written a script or directed a film or created anything, their life is in there, their feelings are in there. It's not dispassionate, right? And so approaching with that with the understanding and the empathy of that. But also, I'm a big believer in just being straightforward and forthright and honest. In small doses, helpful doses, I think people appreciate that, because then they come to know that they can trust what you're saying is what you mean. There's no hidden meaning behind the note. It just is the note.
The next question is, are there any movies you're very excited about seeing in Cannes while you're here?
Well, I missed already, because I'm just the ones I'm reading about. The Yorgos movie, of course. I'm dying to see that. and also the Paul Schrader film that screened last night, just reading some of those. Yeah, Oh Canada, that sounds really great. And then the Andrea Arnold film also sounds great. So I probably won't have too much time to see them, but I'll be looking forward to catching up with them.
You'll catch up later.
When I'm not here, yeah.
We're going to now take some questions from the audience.
Yeah, someone else is mediating, not me.
Someone's going to be bringing a microphone, I believe.
Hi. I'm sorry. I wrote my question and I forgot it. Wait a second. I'm really sorry. Okay. Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Why do you think programs like Women in Motion and other initiatives are important to advance to equality? And how can it be achieved?
Well, so I think the importance of them is when a company with resources shines a light on something that is important to our culture and to our society. It's a powerful thing. Just that action alone speaks volumes. It is important enough to this company that doesn't have to do this to do it. It means they care, and it means this work is important to accomplish, right? And then I think what I love about Women in Motion is I love that it's global. I love that it goes across the different creative disciplines, so it's not just focused on one thing. I was just hearing about a photographic event that's happening in New York coming up, and another in Japan, and it's just it's so wide-reaching in that way. So it's going to touch a lot of people and facilitate a lot of people's careers, which is really, really wonderful. But yeah, it's again, it sort of takes a village, right? It takes a lot of people with the ability to do something to create these platforms to raise up people's voices.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great question. Next question, please.
Here.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, my question, I guess, is more about how prolific a female director can be, because like someone like Yorgos Lanthimos is literally churning out. He has this film here, and he had Poor Things only a couple of months ago even. And the male directors I look up to, they have this great body of work. And then a lot of the female directors that I look up to, they're making not as many films and not as often. So I guess maybe what do you think about that, and what can be done to kind of help that?
Yeah. I think the volume question is very specific to the director. I think Yorgos is in a league of his own in terms of how often he works, I think that seems like a personal choice to him. But I look at somebody like Christopher Nolan, who'll make a film every 3 to 4 to 5 years. That's a personal choice. And so I think the focus should be less on volume and more on consistency. That's really, to me, that would be the measure of a successful directing career. Yeah.
But I guess my question is how do we make it more consistent, I guess?
Yeah. Right, exactly. And yeah. I think it goes back to a little what I was saying earlier, that helping women go from that first movie to the second movie, making sure that there is the opportunities. So it is this, again, I'll go back to Women in Motion. It's things like giving people the voice and the platform to be able to do it, the funding, of course, and also the training to really understand what is viable in the marketplace. How do you get your project set up? How do you get it financed? Those are the areas that I always look. I always look at early career opportunities really as the areas to focus on and put resources towards. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. We really
Thank you.
Thank you.